part is happening in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. It's almost time, man. Everything about to change. That's for real. The truth about to be revealed. Come on. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about that time that the whole world find out who he is, putting unbearable burdens on the backs of our kids. I finally found out why they hate me so. Got me locked up in cells and won't let me go. Separate me from my woman, multiply no more. Same thing was done in Egypt by the rule of Pharaoh. They say this people of Israel multiply like the sands. Let's kill the firstborn and tie all their hands. Lest they become better than us. Uproar and revolt and scatter our guts. So on came the conspiracy to kill Israel. 2006 up in America, their plan is well. Got my city popping birth control just like Skittles. Telling them to avoid what they carry in the middle. My people, a nation that be scattered and peeled. Soon the curse gonna be lifted, we gon' all know the deal. That's right. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change.
Question: why do the heathens rage? And the people them imagine vain things. The kings of the earth and the rulers seek counsel. Them speak the words, but it shall not amount to. It's murder, or the streets full of our blood. No love. These killers pull your body with slugs, them now budge. How use them want be pimps and thugs. Me beg you teach your daughters and your sons. As prophesied, them want kill off me nation. King Alfred and him friend them a plot extermination. Operation lockdown, but how me people no see. Soldier man and policeman them a flood the streets. World a suffer then, because of famine in the land just for the bread of life. But not really overstand, me tell them get it right. Still them don't give a damn, sing praises to I am that I am. Hey, yo.
Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. And time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. Yeah, yeah. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. Life as we know it. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change. It's about to change.
Now stay tuned for our featured presentation.
The Corporate Takeover of Government, narrated by Yohanna Bat Yisrael and Dawid Ben Yisrael. Today, it's becoming more and more apparent that the U.S. government is not looking out for the welfare of its citizens. A quick glance over a local newspaper or a few minutes of watching the evening news is enough to confirm to most that the government has the interests of big businesses in the forefront of its mind. This country's citizens are experiencing great hardships, wide-scale unemployment, homelessness, and ever-increasing debt. The U.S. government has allowed, through the passing of a variety of laws, for these multinational corporations to increase their profits not only on the backs of the people, but also to the destruction of the earth, from oil spills, dumping chemicals in waters, cutting down rainforests, from the melting of the polar ice caps, and from spewing toxic items into space.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 17 to 19 and 23. Thus he said, The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
The government has allowed multinational corporations to control many aspects of our lives. This control, or what they refer to as privatization or deregulation, has turned each industry that it has touched on its head. Industries that have recently been affected by deregulation include the phone industry, the national gas industry, the railroad industry, the airline industry, the banking industry, the radio broadcast industry, the trucking industry, and the cable television industry. Next on the corporation's deregulation agenda, however, are the national electric industry, the national sanitation industry, the national prison industry, the public water industry, and yes, the educational industry. So if you think there are unequal and impoverished schools in the hood now, when there are supposed to be government regulations, just wait until private industries are allowed to govern our students as they see fit. Regulations dismissed. Please be aware, though, that as the corporations separate the school children into those that they will allow to succeed and those that they will not, they are simultaneously preparing their new crop of inmates to populate their corporate-owned and ran profit-making prison systems, better known as neo-slavery. Be on the lookout for this process to spread like cancer when it is allowed nationally. To date, nationally, the savings and loan banking deregulation scandal has been probably the worst deregulations disaster recorded. Headed up by George Bush and his fellow Texas accomplices at the infamous Enron Corporation, this banking deregulation resulted in their stealing billions of dollars from the nation's citizens, the destabilization of the American banking system, and the closing of many long-existing banks. The deregulation of California's electric industry was next on the agenda for Enron Corporation's next big heist. The deregulation of California's electric industry almost bankrupted the entire state. During 2000 and 2001, the Enron Corporation was enabled by the state and federal politicians to take control of and manipulate the entire state's electrical industry and resources. Both the politicians and the corporate thieves told the California public that they were paying too much for electric energy, and removing the governmental rules over the corporations would result in great savings to the common man. This lie couldn't have been further from the truth. Throughout those 2 years, the Enron Corporation caused widespread electric blackouts in the middle of devastating heat waves, and even the declaration of a state of emergency for the state. This deception cost Californians over $45 billion. Even today, Californians still pay 40% more for electrical energy because of this deregulation. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who took the governorship, is comrades with these same corporations. Schwarzenegger is today helping to try to extend the electric deregulation to the rest of the United States, this time dropping the name deregulation and instead calling it free market trade. As if all this weren't bad enough, the corporations have been given the complete green light from the government in the field of pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, involving genetically modified Frankenstein foods and now cloned animal meat for human consumption. The Food and Drug Administration has just passed mandates allowing these companies to not tell consumers that the meats that they are purchasing are from laboratory cloned animals. The FDA has also passed mandates that pre-processed meats, like hot dogs, cold cuts, and other deli meats, will now be sprayed with 5 separate live viruses. How did all of these totally illogical decisions come to be? Why are these things allowed to happen? The answer to these questions is twofold. The quickest answer is that the government officials get paid very well in contributions to vote agreeably for the multinational corporations. When their political careers are over, the corporations even have jobs promised and waiting for them, and even for their family members. Both high-ranking judges and influential politicians have in the past and continue in the present to work for great profit for the same multinational corporations that they offered favors to while in federal office. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was, prior to his appointment to the Supreme Court, a high-ranking regulatory lawyer for Monsanto, an infamously and tremendously powerful pharmaceutical company responsible for many international injustices. Supreme Court Clarence Thomas was, while directly employed for Monsanto, responsible for fighting against all laws that would protect the citizens and would negatively affect Monsanto's multi-million-dollar bottom line. Donald Rumsfeld was previously the president of Searle, a subdivision of Monsanto. He is now Secretary of Defense. In 2000, Ashcroft received the largest recorded campaign contribution by, once again, the Monsanto Corporation. Not only do the employees of large corporations end up in government, but they also immediately return to the same corporations, only to again return to the government agency responsible to protect the public against that same corporation, then to again return to the corporation. If this sounds unbelievable, look into the employment history of many of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's high-ranking officials, especially Linda Fisher. As a Bush-appointed official, she bounced back and forth between executive vice president for the Monsanto Corporation to being the deputy minister of the EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency as it's better known, only to return to Monsanto, then back again to the EPA, and so on. This flip-flop continued for at least 3 times at last count. This regrettable corruption is not by any means uncommon. The second answer to the question of why does all this corruption exist is much more covert and sinister. The Founding Fathers of America have openly acknowledged their membership in secret society organizations. Here in America, the godfather of secret societies has been the Freemason organization. Most of the signers of the Bill of Rights were members of this secret organization. Members of this brotherhood make eternal vows to it above all else. These eternal vows override national and patriotic boundaries. This means that while the 13 colonies were fighting to gain supposed independence from Europe, the founding forefathers maintained their allegiance foremost not to their future American citizens, but they maintained their highest allegiance to their fellow international fraternal Freemasonry brothers. Understand the importance of such an action. Every decision, every political appointment, and every judicial appointment was based on fraternal membership solely. George Washington, the first American president, was selected to be president by his Freemason brothers and not elected by the people. Almost every American president following Washington has either been a member of one of the international secret societies or the close relative of one. Now the question is, what does this internal nepotism within U.S. government from its start until the present have to do with today's bond between the government and multinational corporations? Well, follow the story a little further. Just as the Brotherhood in this newly created nation made certain that its members control the American governmental and judicial systems, it also funded, promoted, and utilized the independent businesses started by or owned by their fraternal brothers. An example of these secret society-connected corporations includes the long-standing Revere Copper Pots, Pans, and Industrial Products Company. Still in existence today, This corporation, founded by Paul Revere, a renowned Freemason, has escaped buyouts, mergers, and closures with a little help from his Freemasonry friends. These secret societies are, simply put, emissaries of Satan. With their goal of a new world order and their faith in their satanical god, these Illuminati-based brotherhoods hope to assist their god, Lucifer, in fulfilling his desire to replace the true God, Yahweh. This was expressed in Isaiah 14, verses 12 through 14.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
These emissaries of Satan exist generation after generation for the sole purpose of setting the stage to eventually coerce the entire world to follow Lucifer. Setting this international stage for Satan, however, requires preparation, and this preparation begins with control. And control is exactly what the Freemasons obtained by the turn of the 19th century in this new nation called America. By the beginning of the 1800s, America had already become the yo-yo of the fraternal Freemasonry order. The fraternal government appointed their fraternal judges to then pass laws to positively affect their fraternal corporation owners. One of the most flagrant abuses made to the American nation by the corrupt fraternally appointed judges occurred in 1886. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a private corporation was a natural person. This one ruling gave corporations all the rights of a person. This one ruling gave a non-living thing more rights than Yahweh's holy children, the Hebrew Israelites, who were still living in captivity within a post-chattel slavery system under the designation of being 3/5 of a man. 60 years after this ruling, a later Supreme Court Justice William Douglas, wrote about the previous ruling, stating that there was no history, logic, or reason to support that enactment. Despite the fact that the ruling was unjust and criminal, it still stands today, allowing corporations to pretty much do as they wish. The research and chemical giant DuPont Corporation has been a major international business player utilizing its demonic secret society influence since its inception in 1802. The DuPont Corporation was founded by an immigrant French family with deep Freemasonry membership and ties. It was their Freemasonry brethren in France that funded the company's beginnings here in America. DuPont was one of the major companies to utilize its fraternal brothers in government and in the legal system to change laws for its direct benefit to hurt society and the land. DuPont lobbied the lawmakers during the turn of the century to make hemp illegal during the 20th century. Hemp is the proper name for the plant known today as marijuana. This wild plant was not outlawed because of drug usage as we hear today. It was outlawed in order for the DuPont Corporation to amass great amounts of fortune by replacing the virtually freely growing weed with DuPont's patented synthetic fibers. Hemp is the strongest plant fiber material. Betsy Ross's flag was made of hemp. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights were written on hemp. Hemp was used throughout history as paper, ship rope, cloth, oil, and a great fuel source. DuPont had the patent on a synthetic chemical compound that broke down wood pulp for making paper from trees. But you didn't need to cut down trees to make paper, because for thousands of years, virtually all known paper was made from hemp. And it can be produced at 1/4 of the cost, 1/5 of the pollution, and it is 10 times as strong and lasts 10 times longer. Even the soldiers' uniforms in the Revolutionary War were made out of hemp, and so were the covered wagons of the early settlers. Hemp is far superior to cotton. Hemp is 26 times stronger and lasts 10 times longer than cotton. The first Levi jeans were not made of cotton. They were made of hemp. Henry Ford, maker of the first commercial car, designed his first car, the Model T, to run solely on hemp fuel. The car itself was made of hemp. The hemp resin panels' impact strength was 10 times stronger than steel on the car. He used the hemp that he grew in his garden to fuel his cars. Although the Illuminati-based corporation DuPont benefited from removing hemp from American society, so did many other secret society-based families and corporations. One industry and family that benefited more so from backing the elimination of hemp was the Rockefeller family. The Rockefeller family owned Standard Oil Trust and bought up most of all other oil and petroleum companies right around the start of the 20th century. Gasoline was pretty much worthless at this time until around 1911. But in their usual act of uniformity, the fraternal corporate brothers lobbied their fraternal political brothers to inform their fraternal judicial brothers to make illegal a freely growing weed. Henry Ford, a fellow Freemason, in line with his brethren, in turn redesigned his Ford Model T car not to run on hemp, but now to run on gasoline. From that point on, crude oil and gasoline have been kings. Today, however, be on the lookout for a particular strain of hemp coming back into American culture. These Illuminati corporations have now been successful at creating a hybrid form of the hemp plant that has supposedly eliminated the THC or intoxicating effect relating to the plant. This patented form of hemp is now coming back in full form to the marketplace, of course now at a much higher price. But remember the purpose of the secret societies corporations. Yes, more money means more power, and power is necessary to take over, but more important is control. Allowing common people options reduces the control of Lucifer. It is not only today that these corporations enjoy flexing their powerful muscles. Returning to the early 20th century, one of the previously mentioned corporate Illuminati leaders, DuPont, and their fellow fraternal brothers in the banking field, J.P. Morgan Corporation, as well as the Goodyear Corporation, all of them were said to be responsible for both an attempted assassination of an American president and for an attempted military U.S. government takeover from democracy to fascism. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR as he is best known, was raised as an American aristocrat, complete with high-level ranking in the Freemasons. But, just as the scriptures revealed, there would be a splitting of Satan's Holy Roman Empire that has rulership over this earth. Part of this splitting of the European Empire between East and West continued to occur during the first half of the 20th century with the two wars.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and subdueth all things. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron.
Somewhere during this battle of the two world wars, however, FDR and his backers enraged DuPont, J.P. Morgan and their backers. FDR had campaigned prior to the election to president to maintain the gold standard, which allowed all U.S. money to be transferable into gold. After he was elected, he changed his stance and was determined to not only take the U.S. off of the gold standard, but to force all Americans to turn in any gold that they owned by penalty of imprisonment. Shortly after that decision, there was an assassination attempt on his life. A few months later, the French-born DuPont Associates, along with the J.P. Morgan Associates, conspired with an American general, General Smedley Butler, to convince him, along with 500,000 veterans, to overthrow the FDR presidency, complete with their monetary backing. Although FDR backers did not support this action, they were also not going to imprison and mock their fellow Illuminati brothers. This major act of treason was brought to Congress by General Butler and even proven to be true. But the Freemasonry-owned media dismissed the entire story, and the Freemason judicial and political systems refused to charge or even address the DuPonts or the Morgans. This break in Illuminati bonds was temporary. Throughout World War II, U.S. corporations continued to support U.S. supposed enemies, their fraternal brothers. Ford and GM supplied European fascists with trucks and equipment, as well as investing in IG Farben plants. And Rockefeller's Standard Oil supplied the enemy with fuel. U.S. Steel and Alcoa supplied them with critically needed metals. American banks gave them billions of dollars worth of loans. Throughout this entire process, the Illuminati-based secret societies never lose sight of their goal, that they have printed on the U.S. dollar of one world order. Regardless of the spin and lies that are spouted from their media, Satan's emissaries work in unison towards their father's goal. Secret societies are well known to be in existence in Western Europe and on the North American continent. But these societies have been around since times of antiquity and exist on every continent with representatives in all governments. The country of China is an example of this, with its tremendous population and ancient societal beginnings. The Hongmen are called China's version of Freemasons. Just as in America, these fraternal brothers hold high positions in their government, and just like in America, these secret society members make seemingly totally illogical decisions regarding the citizens and nature in lieu for benefiting multinational corporations. China in the past has been known for its fertile land with its many vibrant rivers flowing throughout much of its countryside. The same land is now not even able to support all its farmers, and most of its fresh water has been poisoned. China's government agencies have allowed multinational corporations to contaminate and dump toxic industrial waste directly into the rivers and the lakes. China's government itself is directly responsible for destroying the rivers, the lands, and the deaths of hundreds of thousands of its own citizens. China's government has, over the last 50 years, built over 86,000 dams, more than any country in the world. Despite the fact that the thousands of these dams have failed and broken, flooded surrounding lands, created dry, lifeless deserts where there once was water, and has killed hundreds of thousands of people. This has not slowed down their building of new dams. They are now in the process of building the largest dam ever. While China spends millions on the creation of tremendous dams and industrial plants, they have been spending absolutely nothing, no money, on the treatment of human sewage. It wasn't until the 1990s that the first wastewater plant was even built. Prior to that, China's human waste had been dumped directly into the rivers and lakes, completely untreated. This human and industrial wastewater, lake, and river mixture is then later used to irrigate the farmers' crops. There is no surprise that the country's rate of cancer, disease, and infection is the highest worldwide. China's Yellow River now flows red, literally red, with contamination in some areas. These governmental decisions on an entirely different continent are so alike to the illogical decisions made by all the world's leaders, especially those in America. Previously, in China, with the world's largest population, the people had been able to provide for themselves, farming, raising animals, and living off the plenteous rivers and lakes. Now that the Illuminati-directed officials have built thousands and thousands of dams, locks, and barrages on each river and pumped pollutants into the remaining waters, these peasants are starving and forced to leave the countryside and work for the multinational corporations in these overcrowded cities. So now, previously self-sufficient populations are tied, just like the Americans, into this industrial hand-to-mouth, paycheck-to-paycheck reliance upon corporations to exist. The result, on a spiritual level, is the creation of the perfect setting for the beast in the book of Revelations, where the majority of the people are confined with no visible options except to take the mark of the beast in order to buy or sell, thereby guaranteeing them everlasting damnation.
Revelations 13, verse 15 through 18. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
The corporations and government Illuminati are also using another area in which to control the people of the earth. Since the early 1900s, corporations have petitioned the American government, along with other national governments, to increase their power of patenting. These patent laws were expanded so much as to make it legal for a corporation to get a patent or sole ownership of plants, animals, herbs, seeds, hybrids, and anything else. The only exclusion that presently exists is that they are not allowed to own a patent on a full-born human baby, but they are quickly working to even eliminate that rule. This mass changing of the patent laws gives complete control and ownership of all plants and animals to large corporations. Even plants that have been in existence since biblical history are now owned by these super powerful corporations. The Monsanto Corporation, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies, decided to extend its power from selling poisonous pharmaceutical drugs into owning vegetable and fruit seeds. Monsanto now forces all farmers to buy their adulterated seeds because they own the patents to both the altered seeds as well as the natural seeds. They are now making it illegal for a farmer to grow a plant, such as a watermelon, then save the seeds that grow inside of the plant, in order to then plant those seeds that are created inside the fruit. They are forcing farmers to buy only from them and other handsful of large corporations that own the patents. If that weren't bad enough, these large corporations have now created what is called terminator seeds. The plants that are produced from these seeds will not reproduce plantable seeds. The lifespan of this plant is only one harvesting. This is totally against Yahweh's plan in nature.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 11 through 12. And Yahweh said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Yahweh saw that it was good. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. And Yahweh said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat.
These corporations have already allowed their genetically modified seeds to be accidentally spilled into farmers' fields that did not want modified seeds. There is no way to physically tell the difference in the seeds until the crop is harvested. The next step for these same companies is to spread throughout international fields these terminator seeds, choking out the natural seeds that can produce and replacing these natural reproducing seeds with a food crop that cannot renew itself. This would equate to world starvation or world control. These nations led by the corporations and their government brethren are simply being brought to destroying this world, just as it is written in the book of Daniel, that the fourth beast would break the earth into pieces. And just as it is written in the book of Ezekiel in chapter 38, these nations will be led voluntarily into the battle of Armageddon for the sole reason to be destroyed.
Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 3 through 5. And say, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Ezekiel 38, verse 15 and 16. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before their eyes.
Lucifer was giving dominion over this world by the most. Satan uses his power and wealth to tempt all men, just as he did tempt the Messiah, Yeshua, after his 40-day fast.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 2, 8 through 10. And when he, Yeshua, had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. The devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if you wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Yeshua unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship Yahweh thy Elohim, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him.
People with an ear to hear must follow the law and statutes of the Most High and try to live as the Messiah Yeshua showed us, all while teaching others his word. Picketing the large corporations, lobbying government will not change what is to come. Our salvation is in our obedience in the covenants that Yahweh made with his people, the so-called Negro.
Matthew 24, verse 6 through 8, and verse 12 through 13. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Daniel 7 and verse 27.
And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him.
Thank you, and shalom.
Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Surface. My name is Yaakov Ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the Culture Center of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. You know, when you look upon the earth today and consider who really runs the earth today, all of the countries of the earth, you find out that it's the corporations of the world that drive all of the economies, the governments, and the media. And these are the things the people rather that makes the suggestions as to all of the products we use, the type cars we drive, the foods we eat, and everything that we have to spend money on, and they dictate to us subliminally and then openly most of the time all the things that we should be about. So it's the corporations of America and the world that drives all of the economies of the world. But all of these things was prophesied that would take place. The problem is seeing that the corporations run all the economies of the earth. What they do is they use the church to keep people domesticated, and all these, like I said before, all these things was prophesied that was going to come upon the earth. And when you read these prophecies and look upon the earth, you can see that truly the creator of all things, Yahweh Elohim, is live, and he's in living color. And we can look out upon the earth today and see that all of the things that he told the holy prophets for his people to watch for, all of these things are coming to pass. Now, I know that most of you have heard about the New World Order. George Bush and Ronald Reagan and all the other presidents talked about the New World Order. Well, the New World Order that's being set up today is being set up in Europe, and it's called the EU. And what that is to revive Holy Roman Empire that fell in 476 AD, and they divided the earth among all of the people on the earth except us, this so-called renamed Negro in America, who is actually the Hebrews. And when we look upon the earth today, we can very well see that we have become total consumers who don't produce anything, and we don't control any vast properties or any country on the world. But there's a reason for that. That's because of what our fathers did. But Yahweh is not going to leave us in the condition that that we are in today. He told Abraham this captivity was going to last 400 years, and when you look and see how the New World Order, the EU, is being put in place, and how much power that they carry along with their army, the United Nations, you can very well see that this thing is going down. It's going down according to exactly what the prophet said. But let me read something to you out of the book of Revelation. Now, some of these symbols you might not understand, but if you read the prophet Daniel, the angel interpreted these symbols to Daniel. I'm going to read Revelation 13, verse 1 through verse 10. And I stood upon the sands of the sea and saw an empire rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Now, when you read your scripture, especially in Revelations 12, you'll find out that the 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 crowns are markings of the adversary, the devil, and these were kings that was going to come up on the earth from 606 BC up until the time that the Messiah would show up on the scene. And the empire, it says beast, but it's talking about the empire. And the empire which I saw was like unto a leopard. This was Alexander the Great with the Greeks. It only took him 12 years to conquer the whole known earth at that time. This is why he was called a leopard. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Well, the second empire upon the earth was the Medo-Persian Empire, which was controlled by Iran and Russia is still called the bear today. And his mouth, the mouth of a lion. Well, when you go back into the book of Daniel, you'll find out that the lion was Nebuchadnezzar, that ruled the earth from Iraq. Old ancient Babylon is 25 miles north of Iraq. And when Saddam Hussein was elected, that's where he went and carved his name in the stones of Babylon. And he actually said that he was a direct successor of Nebuchadnezzar the Great. Verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Rome fell in 476 AD and received that deadly wound. Now Europe is putting the EU right back together again. Verse 4, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the empire, saying, who is like unto this empire, and who is able to make war with him? And there was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 3½ years, which is the great tribulation period. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And this is a very interesting verse here, verse 7. Revelation 13 and verse 7, it says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given to him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So now we know that we have a one world order that rule all kindreds and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life, slain from the foundation of the earth. If any man has an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And he that kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now, being in this captivity and not controlling any vast amount of wealth or territory, we can very well see that as a people, someone has been at war with us for over 400 years since we've been out of our land. Well, actually speaking, we came out of our land in 70 AD, and according to history, the Israelites were sold to the Ethiopians to work in the salt mines, and it was the Africans who rounded us up and sold us to the British, Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch for slaves in America. And we know that America, the wealth of America, was built up in free labor on the back of our forefathers, and even today we still suffer just as much as our forefathers. We tried to integrate, we are being rejected. But the thing of the matter is this: America is the most powerful nation on the earth. And when you get back in history and see who it was that had Benjamin, Judah, and Levi in captivity, they were the powerfulest nation on the earth, and they were the first nations to fall. But in order for Europe and Asia and the rest of the world to set up this new world order, America has to be destroyed, and truly, according to the Bible, America will be the first country that will be destroyed, and we can see her coming apart at the seams now, and she's got her hands in everybody's business on the world. As a matter of fact, the world call her global cop. But let me read something to you all about the fall of America, and according to the Bible, Russia is going to destroy America in 1 hour and 1 day. As a matter of fact, when Nikita Khrushchev was Prime Minister of Russia and Dwight D. Eisenhower was President of the United States, it was Khrushchev at the United Nations in New York City that told the United Nations concerning America that we are going to bury America. It's given to us by prophecy. Well, let me read one of these prophecies. Now, if you're interested in those prophecies, it's Isaiah 13, Isaiah 47, Jeremiah. Read some things to you out of the prophet John the Revelator and see what he said about America's destruction. Revelation 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and the cage of and hateful bird. Well, when you really look at America, you can come to America and practice any kind of religion you want. You can do just away with it if you got enough money to pay you a good lawyer. It's more crime committed in America than in any other country on the earth. Well, what do you expect? The church tell people we're not under the law, we are under the grace, and they've even taken the 10 Commandments out of the judicial system. So we can very well see America is falling apart at the seams. The thing of it is, what is going to happen to this so-called Negro? When America is before she comes under attack, people are going to start going, where are we going to go? The Africans sold us, so you know they're not going to let no 20 or 30 million of our people in their country. Let me finish this up. For all nations, this is our Revelations 18 and verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, which is democracy, and all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from the heavens saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquity. And what is her? When we look on the earth in America, we can see that crime, which is really sin, is running rampant on the earth, and even when we look at the legal system is so snarled up that they never will get this thing untangled. That's why they're building more prisons. That's why they've closed these military bases, so they have some places to put our people in when the deal goes down here in America. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities. Reward her as she has rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill it to her double. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she says in her heart, I said, no widow. Sorrow. America has never come under any serious attack by, as far as armies are concerned, by a former nation. But that's because Yahweh has us here to protect us because of who our people are. In way, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh Elohim, who judge her. And all the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament her when they shall see her, the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, America, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is her judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thinine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of precious wood and all brass and iron and marble and sinners and cinnamon and odor, all of the things that are produced by corporate America. These are the things that has made the nations of the earth rich. And according to the scripture, she has to go. She has to fall so that Yahweh Elohim can get everybody back where they were in the beginning over in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And then once this happened, 3.5 years after Lucifer is thrown out of heaven, and in the book of Revelation, this will bring on the return of the Messiah to redeem his people from all over the earth that has been put in captivity. Let's understand one thing. We are, as a people, are the only people on the earth that's not represented by any government upon the face of the earth. And we was the first, we were the ones that were sold, and now we are not an asset anymore. And when we really look at what's happening to the black male, who is the seed bearer of our people, we can very well see that as a people, we are in deep trouble. So when we look at these things, we can understand that it is the corporate world that runs the world, that runs the government, and they tell us what to eat, what to drink, what to wear, and we get all of our monies that we buy our stuff for from corporate America. So truly, we are dependent on these things. Now, if you're interested in these things, come by the Culture Center and we can talk about these things out of the Bible. And we have a video that we'd like for you to see, and it's called One Nation Under Siege and the Gentiles Themselves. The prophets in the Bible told you how the God of all things is going to bring this about. But in this DVD, the Europeans are telling you how it's going to be done. My name is Yaakov Ben Israel. Peace, and Yahweh be with y'all.
Pay no mind to the infidel. I got a few things that I want to say. I say yes, you say no way. Living most so disagreeable. You love me night, I love you now. I love the sun, you love the moon. Living most so disagreeable.